The story I'm about to tell you is true, because it happened to them. Sound of a deep, resonant bell, followed by the faint, muffled sound of waves and distant foghorns. Imagine this, a warm night, somewhere in the vast, dark expanse of the open ocean. You're on the deck of a colossal cruise ship, a city of lights gliding over an abyss. Maybe you leaned a little too far over the railing, a sudden lurch of the vessel, or a simple, tragic misstep. The exact reason doesn't matter. What matters is the moment that follows. The exact second you hit the water from 10, or even 15 decks up. It isn't a graceful entry. It's a violent collision. Hitting the water from that height is like striking concrete. The impact alone can break bones, shatter your pelvis, or knock the wind out of you so completely that your lungs feel like they've collapsed. The force is immense, a brutal, unforgiving slap that announces your arrival into a world of pure, cold indifference. You don't slide in. You are punched into the sea. And as you plunge into that churning darkness, you might try to scream, a desperate, primal cry for help. But almost nobody hears it. On a cruise ship, the ambient noise is a constant, low-frequency hum. The thrumming of the massive engines, the whine of the wind whipping past the superstructure, the distant thumping bass of a nightclub, the laughter from a dozen different balconies, it all conspires to swallow your voice whole. Your scream is a pinprick of sound in a symphony of oceanic noise. The splash you make, which feels so cataclysmic to you, is just another ripple in a wake that stretches for miles. To anyone on board, it's indistinguishable from a wave slapping against the hull. You are gone, and the floating city sails on, completely unaware. From your new, terrifying perspective in the water, the ship doesn't just sail away, it vanishes with bewildering speed. These vessels travel at a steady 20 to 25 knots, that's nearly 30 miles per hour. Even with its thousands of lights blazing, it recedes with horrifying quickness. First, the individual cabin lights blur into a single glittering mass. Then, that mass shrinks into a bright star on the horizon. Within minutes, that star winks out, leaving you alone with the moon and stars if you're lucky enough to have them. More often, you're left in a thick, featureless blackness where the line between the water and the sky ceases to exist. The sheer scale of your isolation is a physical weight pressing down on you. The second shock after the impact is the water temperature. Even in tropical waters like the Caribbean, the ocean at night is colder than you can possibly imagine. The surface might be a pleasant 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but just a few feet down, it can drop significantly. That sudden, all-encompassing cold triggers an involuntary gasp reflex, the cold shock response. Your airway opens, and if your head is underwater, your lungs will fill with seawater. You lose control of your breathing, hyperventilating as your body fights the sudden, brutal change. Your heart rate skyrockets, your blood pressure spikes, and the immediate risk isn't hypothermia. It's drowning from the initial, uncontrollable shock. If you manage to survive the initial impact and the cold shock, you then have to contend with the ship's wake. A cruise ship displaces hundreds of thousands of tons of water, creating a powerful, turbulent current in its path. This isn't a gentle ripple, it's a chaotic vortex. The prop wash, the churning water from the massive propellers, can be powerful enough to pull you under and hold you there. You're not just left behind, you're actively dragged down and pushed away from the ship's path, tumbling head over heels in the dark, disorienting chaos. Fighting this current is like trying to swim up a waterfall. It expends precious energy and pulls you further into the abyss, away from any potential line of sight. The most terrifying part is how long it can take for anyone to even notice you are missing. It's rarely immediate. In many real cases, the alarm isn't raised until the next morning. A traveling companion wakes up to an empty bed. A room steward notices an untouched cabin during morning rounds. It can be hours 5, 8, sometimes even 12 hours before the ship's crew is alerted. By then, the ship is hundreds of miles away from where you went into the water. The search area has expanded from a single point to a vast, impossibly large grid of open ocean. Your chances, which were already slim, have dwindled to nearly zero. Let's say, by some miracle, the crew is alerted quickly. The ship turns around, a monumental task that can take over an hour. They deploy searchlights. From the deck, these lights look like powerful beams cutting through the night. But from your perspective, bobbing in the water miles away, they are feeble and deceptive. The beams sweep across the rolling swells, illuminating a patch of water for a fraction of a second before moving on. The light might pass right over you, but unless you're on the crest of a wave at that exact moment, you remain invisible, hidden in the trough. To the spotters on the ship, you are a tiny, dark speck in an endless field of other tiny, dark specks. They're looking for a human head, which in a churning sea is functionally impossible to distinguish from a piece of debris or a shadow on a wave. Hypothermia is a patient, methodical killer. Its timeline depends entirely on the water. In the frigid waters of the North Atlantic or the Alaskan cruise routes, where temperatures can be near freezing, you would have less than 15 minutes before physical incapacitation, and death would follow in under an hour. In the warmer waters of the Gulf of Mexico, around 70 degrees, you might survive for several hours, but your body is still losing heat faster than it can produce it. First, you shiver uncontrollably. Then, as your core temperature drops, the shivering stops, a very bad sign. Confusion and delirium set in. You might feel a paradoxical sense of warmth, leading some victims to remove their clothing. Eventually, your heart simply stops. You might think a life jacket is your saving grace, but in the open ocean, at night, its utility is tragically limited. Yes, it will keep you afloat, preventing you from drowning due to exhaustion, but it does little to protect you from the cold. In fact, by keeping you upright, it exposes more of your body to the wind and spray, potentially accelerating heat loss. It makes you a slightly more visible target, but as we've established, visibility is already near zero. It won't protect you from marine life, it won't signal for help, and it won't stop the relentless onset of hypothermia. It merely prolongs the ordeal, keeping you conscious as the cold slowly, inevitably takes over. There are, against all odds, survivor stories. In late 2023, a man who fell from a ship in the Gulf of Mexico was found alive after treading water for nearly 20 hours, a feat of endurance that baffled even the Coast Guard rescuers who found him purely by chance. In 2024, a young woman fell from a lower deck in the Mediterranean and was rescued after 6 hours by a fishing vessel that happened to be in the area. But for every miraculous rescue, there are countless others who are never found. Their names become a footnote in an incident log, a statistic in an annual report. They are simply consumed by the sea, their final moments known only to the darkness. For them, the search is eventually called off, and they are declared lost. Cruise lines have detailed man-overboard protocols. They drill for these situations. The official procedure involves deploying life rings, marking the GPS position, alerting the bridge, and initiating a turn. In reality, these protocols depend on a crucial first step, a credible witness seeing you go over. Without that, the entire chain of events never begins. The reality is that the ship's own systems are not designed to detect a fall. The reality is that the vast majority of overboard incidents happen unwitnessed. The protocol on paper is a well-oiled machine. The reality in the dead of night is silence and ignorance. The data from U.S. Coast Guard search and rescue reports and International Maritime Organization logs from 2024 and 2025 paint a stark picture. The odds are overwhelmingly against you. You are looking for a needle, not in a haystack, but in a constantly moving, ever-expanding ocean. So the next time you stand on the deck of a cruise ship, feeling the gentle sway and looking out at the endless, inky black water, remember the fine line you're standing on. The line between the warm, bright world of the ship and the cold, dark, and indifferent world just a few feet below. It's a world that doesn't negotiate, a world that doesn't forgive a single mistake, and a world that keeps its secrets forever. If you found this story compelling, you might be surprised by the one about the luxury yacht that sailed into a rogue wave off the coast of South Africa. And that story is even more terrifying